That is a silencer ban coming out, and okay. It's a little bit more clear just why they wanted that silencer ban, as the Snapfire is the call from Infinity. So, the silencer doesn't get a lot of action, but against the Snapfire in particular, you could just kind of shut down anything. It would give your Storm Spirit free range to just go in whenever he. So, solid ban, solid pick as well. The Snapfire still far more popular among the SA teams compared to maybe some of their North American counterparts, and there have been really, I'm not sure about equal numbers of times, but the split between the 3 and the 4 is still very much possible.
Yeah, and of course the Snapfire 3 definitely feels like a sacred special almost at this point in Thunder Awakened. But whenever you are that best SA team, I mean, for years, of course, we see them as Beast Coast. It drips down. Every team starts stealing from that team that is certainly large and ahead. And like you said, we could certainly see that flexibility here. We could see the Snap 3, we could see the Snap 4, but at the same time, you always got to be you never own your strats. You're always going to have to move past it. You're always going to have to move on. And I think that's where it feels like it's going to be a step for it, but at the same time, it's SA. We've seen snap mid for all we know. We could see it certainly move up and down that position list. At the same time, though, Ravens aren't playing around. Tiny Omni, I mean, that was the staple of 730. It's still really quite good in this patch. Maybe not as potent, I want to say, versus the Bane, just because, of course, he's got that reduced cast range. He's got that ability to kind of break up your save if he can get that Nightmare off. But at the same time, I think for the third time in the tournament, we've seen this Tiny versus Bane. It's just very satisfying to have a carry who can actually break up that Fiend's grip if he is the one that needs to kind of run in and stop the team fight from happening.
Now, oof,
It's a good pick. It's a really good pick.
that tiny Omni Knight lane looks a little less fun now with the Timber on the other side. Of course, that does pretty much eliminate the possibility of the off-lane Snapfire, but saying before, that flexibility kicks in because you just run it at the 4 and it's just as effective. It does now mean for the Timber Snap lane that the Snapfire is basically the only one who can sort of initiate, but if they do get onto a target, that's a hell of a lot of damage coming out from.
Yeah, and really, I'm kind of surprised. We're seeing so much less Kunkka than I really expected us to be seeing in this tournament, and I think it could be large in part due to the Storm Spirit mid matchup, where it just is impossible to put your finger on him. No matter how well you try to time your X, it doesn't really end up mattering. But kind of sad to see that hero thrown by the wayside. But I think that's also a big reason why we keep on seeing the Timbersaw get through in cases where, I mean, typically it feels like a draft oversight from Ravens, where Tiny Omni, of course, they're going to pick Timbersaw, but it's where the meta has shifted so heavily towards this CK, Sand King, Mars, where you feel like there's a priority on other heroes, but it's Timbersaw who didn't really get changed or nerfed in the timing kind of changes here. He's still just as good a hero.
Always one of the things you can appreciate about Dota that other games maybe come close to, but maybe not quite to the same degree. Heroes come back in the meta because of things that were not even remotely related to them, right? That sort of knock-on effect in terms of balance changes make some heroes more prominent than others. And as you were saying, sort of playing into that point, the Kunkka as well, because that was something that South America was really clinging to when a lot of other regions were starting to shy away from it. They just did not back down from the Kunkka picks, at least not in the pro circuit. And here we are, we've seen it the one time so far, and I think that was it. And that was actually from an NA team as well. So trends getting a little bit broken up here, this event.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of teams are kind of in gridlock when it comes to strategies. We'll have to see how the major plays out. Whenever there's a Dota major on the horizon, all of the doors shut. Everybody really just kind of holds in their own regions. You know that every team that's qualified is scrimming really in their own regions, but of course, those regions are not going to give up anything to anyone else. They're going to try and keep as much as they can whenever those final land days do happen.
Oh,
And look at that. A last overall pick Death Prophet. It's the craziness of so many heroes fly by the wayside when you've got all these different priorities that something like this arises. And I mean, before you would say this hero, it's impossible to get at first phase. This is the first phase priority hero, the biggest first phase priority hero. But here it is at the end of the draft.
hmm. Yeah, I had kind of assumed it had already been banned out at this point, just because that's the way it normally goes, but very much not the case. Now, however, that Death Prophet has to be a core here, or do you move the Omni Knight? into a core position, I guess.
Honestly, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, you could say it's going to be a Monkey King safe lane, right? So, do you want to run perhaps the DP Coddle in that situation, and then you know, try to be double range versus Monkey King, and you try to slow him down? Or the only problem if you do make it an Omni 3 is, well, you've kind of not solved any of your problems in dealing with that Monkey King, and I think that's where Ravens, depending on where the stud profit goes, if it is an Omni 3, then that does mean it's going to be a DP5, and we'll have to see if he can actually attempt to shut out this Timbersaw. But in that lane specifically, DP versus Snapfire is a pretty scary lane to play into. There's just anti-armor, there's so much damage, there's so much stun. Of course, there's the Timbersaw. That burst is certainly going to be there. It's going to be a better option than just raw laning it with the tiny
Oh,
Omni, but hey, we talked about in the previous series, DP, you know when it's popular, the Void is going to come through, and that's also a Lumiere Faceless Void, one of his best heroes, and another strength of the Monkey King. They swap it up at the end. Monkey versus Storm, maybe not the best matchup for Monkey King, but PP will certainly make it work, and this Void has honestly fixed any problem that Infinity had with their draft. Not to mention, hey, they got Snap Void.
yeah.
It just works.
I mean, that's just that's some sort of Dota 101 levels of combos that you now have at your disposal, and I don't know what Ravens are going to do here. The call was for the Death Prophet to go into that core position. As you can see, Benjaz was the one to pick that up. So at least that is resolved in terms of the question. I just don't know if it's going to be enough right now, because like you said, it feels like that Lumiere Faceless Void addressed any issue that they have. They've got lockdown, they've got damage, they've got durability. They can deal with pretty much any of the individual cores that Raven have put up.
Yeah, and very paradoxically, usually when you see this tiny get through, you are always threatened by the idea of he farms enough and then suddenly you can't kill him. The problem is actually in these types of drafts where the issue is that the Faceless Void is the one that can't die. Even if he's behind in farm, if he's not really able to get what he wants, you can always tank up. You can always try to outlast your opponents here. And I think that's where one or two Chronos, it's going to be so crucial, I think, on how we really see Ravens play around those timings, around how they get kind of their early gold underway here. And of course, they've got Death Prophet, right? Those tier ones are going to fall. That's a certainty in this game. But at the same time, you have to be worried about whether or not they can actually get those big team fights going together. Not to mention, I mean, the GA, it should feel pretty good, but honestly, the majority of Infinity's heroes can kind of just ignore it. They just do so much variable damage.
Well, game one getting underway. Early smokes from both sides. Smoke did pop there on Kara, so I think he suspects something's up here. The question is, can he actually avoid the gank as it comes? The Boundless Strike gonna get him hit up. He's slowed there as well by the scatter, but not quite enough damage to heal or take him down. The Heavenly Grace heal helping to get him out from under that gank attempt. So, well, not a whole lot lost there. Your Omni maybe has to burn through some early region. He's going to be just fine. And now you see Genic. Okay. They drop down this early ward, but he actually didn't fully deny it. Just gets it sort of close to that range just in case Ravens bring somebody over to try and de-ward it. But honestly, I don't know if Kara would suspect that there's a ward there, because he just walked up the high ground to get hit up.
I think it's the type of situation where maybe we just see everybody walk away. Okay.
Whoa.
PP steals up. They're actually able to steal it out. That's a little nice grab. Starts with 3 for the game, but certainly something that isn't going to matter all too much here. But typically you want the Boundless Strike level 1, right? Just get the ranged creep, not be too afraid. Not to mention, if he is playing too heavily in that creep wave, I mean, we've seen it time and time again with the Storm Spirit. Once you hit level 3, it's just such a hard trade to win. It's so easy. It's also kind of funny seeing him hide as a melee creep in the mid lane.
Just an extra creep. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. But this is, again, yeah, gonna be an interesting matchup. Monkey King versus Storm mid is not exactly a matchup that gets thrown out there all that frequently. So we'll see which of these two I think maybe plays the more aggressive, maybe the more risky style, and whether or not it actually pays off. Because I could see Nyengo Flow here on the Storm, maybe trying to bully up a little bit with the overload, and DP on the other side really just has the Boundless Strike to answer.
And he's got to be careful. It's really going to be just in between the Jingus, whether or not he can get the punish. Again, once he gets level 3, he has that Vortex. It's very scary, but it should be a pretty free time. Unfortunately, Nengo Flow didn't actually get enough last hits in the first few waves, so his ball's going to come out maybe just a half step earlier. You need 6 in the first wave with these starting items to actually get that bottle immediately sent out for 2-minute runes, and he will finally get it in time for the 2-minute water spawns, but at the same time, you got to be scared of Monkey.
The meantime, we'll swing things over to some of the side lanes here, see how this Timber Snapfire lane works out. As I said in the draft, Genek's gonna kind of have to do the heavy lifting here initiation-wise if they do want to fight, but you don't necessarily have to be looking for that aggression. It feels like maybe a slight waste of the Snapfire's kit if you don't, but if you have Mariano here on the Timbersaw who can just farm up, rely on the reactive armor stacks to keep that Tiny at bay, then he's going to be set up quite nicely heading into that sort of post-laning stage period as well. So, honestly, I think Infinity are okay with this lane either way.
Yeah, I think really they're just going to focus on denies. Genek is going to tactfully probably look for an exit in the lane just because, yet again, with this Timbersaw scene, you want to give that XP over to Mariano. You want him to get that level 6 as soon as he can so that way you actually do have kill potential. And I think that's where, unfortunately, if the Snapfire does start getting a little bit of that XP, they can really only ever kill Kara. They're never going to have enough damage to take out that Timbersaw. In the meantime, Kara is being so obnoxious and you can give him a lot of credit here. He's got 2 salves. He's got 8 stick charges. He's kind of winning the lane for, I want to say, his Tiny right now by just having the resources.
Doesn't quite get the full duration there on that South, but at this point, job's kind of done for him, right? He is being obnoxious. He's allowing the Tiny to just sort of handle his own business without any significant threat, and we mentioned earlier, for this off lane, they don't have to play aggressively and Mariano will farm just fine, but if Kara can take that choice out of their hands entirely, where Genek can't gank not because he doesn't want to, but because Kara doesn't let him, then, well, that makes it a little bit more favorable, because now the Snap, you see, has to sort of start looking for opportunities elsewhere, but now Nyengo Flow, gotta be a little bit careful, because the Snap, even at level 2, could set up for this Monkey King.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of waiting for the 4-minute rune here to see if PP just dives for it. We could see Genek, who's still kind of, moving in between lanes here, be at that top water rune spot, and then if PP denies the bottom one, Nengo Flow is in a little bit of trouble, but it's bottom. Just the Bane a little bit too far forward, and yep, just trying to kill himself. He doesn't want to give all that gold over to Lumiere, so it's a first blood and a nice deny, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of gold. I think it's sort of taken over there, but not nearly as much as Lumiere could get just, claiming the kill for himself. So, very nicely done, and this is really the only hero that they can target at this point, right? Is Prada on this Bane, because you don't really have enough lockdown for Lumiere to get actually caught out here. So, identify the target, find an easy kill here early on. Benjaz sort of salvages it afterwards with the suicidal play, and I mean, this lane is going to go okay, right? You're not going to shut Lumiere down, but if you can bully him just a little bit last hit-wise and keep putting pressure on the Bane, you're going to be in a solid spot, but now Dark Demon's got to be careful himself. He is just getting smacked around, and yeah, it's kind of a two-way street. Bane's an easy target, but so is a Coddle.
Yeah, and it's also where it's the reason why Faceless Void is as popular as he is. That time dilation is just brutal in the waves. It leads to a lot of free kills, and you know he's going to be spamming his spells. If you can get a 2x time dilation on that Coddle, more or less dead. It's the same reason why people pick it versus the Pugna for the exact same reason. You're constantly using your spells, and you get that easy punish, and Benjis is kind of left without a partner. But oh my goodness,
This
the
is
heroes
big.
made.
Yeah, they brought both of the supports over there. They're going to slow him down. Boundless Strike comes in. Cookie Stun is there as well, and Prada kind of yoinks it from his core there, but either way, that is a big pickup onto a Storm just before he was going to hit level 6 as well.
Yeah, it's a really good timing. I think a timing they get to make with this war, just kind of moving their heroes around appropriately. And again, you're getting into this rhythm, especially with the Timbersaw on the team, where Mariano, he's level 5, he's happy being Soul XP, and you're successfully rotating your Snapfire around, because Genek does not really feel far behind. It doesn't feel like he's necessarily getting pressured by not making these plays. And at the same time, this is also the first time we've seen them very smartly contest the Coddle stacking, and Kara should stop this, but maybe not in time.
Nope. I
No
think
heal.
he got clipped at the very end there by the scatter blast. That might have just been enough, and even if he did get into
Ooh.
position, as you said, didn't have the heal, only would have had the grace, as Yango Flow, that's not good. I mean, that's a little bit of mana wasted, not a crazy amount, but you take time out from mid to go and rotate over, and they don't get any sort of initiation. So Infinity, very nicely in these early stages, just kind of dragging their opponents around a little bit.
Yeah, and now Mariano with the 5-minute cart, still alive top, just hit his level 6. He's ready to run at this tiny, and, well,
Oh, Lumiere.
I don't know what you do here. And okay, with Lumiere, I mean, he's got the chrono for security, and does he just do it?
Greed
Okay.
is the name of the game. Drop a chrono for Dark Demon, why the hell not? There's nothing he can do about it, and Mariano gets both of the kills. Double kill for your Timbersaw. Siege Creep somehow still alive as well, so they are going to get further damage onto this tier 1, and is this... Okay, if he toggles aggro onto the creep wave, I think they honestly just get this tower. Now in the bottom lane, they get the sleep on to Benjaz. This Death Prophet has the ult. Will he be forced to use it? Yes, he will. The question is that enough? PP does not have the Boundless. If he had that Boundless, that's just an easy kill, but he is going to have it in a second or two, so your Benjaz don't get too greedy. There's going to be the stun, but PP actually, he doesn't have enough damage for this. Wow. Thought he was going to hit a little bit harder. Now he's the one who might have to back off because his Exorcism is still kind of hitting him hard.
Everybody is so low right now. It's really wise from Benjaz, I think, to go for it. He was saving up his Spirit Siphons in the lane, and PP, I think, definitely overestimated himself. But with Mariano, you got to be scared. But they got everything they wanted on Infinity. They killed the top tower. Now Mariano gets to slot in, defend this. The Exo really doesn't get used in the most proactive way here. The Wild Wing Ripper had it out for Benjaz, but it doesn't actually come with any follow-up. But at the same time, I think really the only one sad about that bottom engagement is really Prada, and Prada's okay being sad for his teammates.
Ooh. And now he gets the Nightmare down. They can't really purge it, but maybe PP would want that fight, but I think they know there were other heroes in the area, so they let that one go, but even letting that go, that's a haste rune on the Omni. Kara doesn't really do anything with that, so you keep it out of the hands of the Storm or the Tiny, and well, speaking of the Tiny, I gotta wonder here for Dodd, what exactly is going to be his play? He's working towards the Echo Saber, but even once he has that, I don't really know. He doesn't have too many points in that Avatos combo, so he may not be as much of a playmaker here as PP's trying to jump in, but here comes the Storm, pushing his way forward as well, not in time to save his teammate, but yeah, they can certainly make that a trade, and that's a very favorable trade at this point, core for support. Be careful, Lumiere, though, is trying to hang out on the periphery, but he doesn't have the Chrono, so really can't do a whole lot there.
Yeah, it's I think Infinity trying to make a few too many plays. Unfortunate that the Tiny can just kind of show up here. This is a little bit idealistic. Yeah, it's still going to be rough, but
okay, Gennett comes in for the support. Yanko Flow, though, not giving up. He keeps pushing. That's all of his mana, but they got it. Persistence pays off there as Lumiere gets taken down, and I don't know exactly what this duo of Prada and Gennett are going to be able to do here. I don't think they have the damage by themselves to get onto the Tiny, but over in the middle lane, AP gets the Boundless Strike onto Kara. Mariano comes in looking for that pure damage, and they don't actually have the kill. The knockback coming in from the Coddle is enough to save the day, or maybe not. Mariano, no, he wants the kill, he'll get the kill.
okay, there are just trades everywhere. The Snapfire dies top, and it's where, unfortunately for Infinity, they're doing something very smart in the nighttime. They're trying to place wards so that way, whenever the tome's available and they can get a level 6 on the Snapfire, they're going to have this Mortimer Kiss chrono play that they can make, usually in a smoke top. But with the way their heroes have kind of toppled, it's really awkward now for Lumiere to reestablish himself with the Snapfire. The Snap is really going to have to meet him, and then they'll probably go for a smoke play, but maybe if Ben just shows bottom in the next few seconds, we could see them go for that play. I think that might actually be it, but Gennett actually needs, I think, one more creep, and then he's going to have the kisses, but it feels like maybe this opportunity might slip by their fingers.
Yeah, he needs to just get a little bit closer. There we go. Okay. Kisses are up now, but do they still have the opening? They're going to smoke up here. Mariano was not caught in that. I'm not sure if they wanted him in it or not, but... Nope. This is not going to go well. Nengo should spot him, and yeah, he's gone. Able to zip away.
Heart. Abandoned.
Well, that's a free item. And Lumiere, okay, he's still kind of looking for something here. He does get the dilation down onto your Coddle, but now they're just too spread out. Genic is
Oh
actually
no.
trapped, and they got the silence down onto Lumiere. He's not going to be able to jump away, can't drop the Chronosphere here, and he's just straight dead. Now Genic, he's stuck. That's a little terrible. Kind of feels like if you don't get the initial play onto the Storm, it might be time to cut your losses and back out. Instead, they sort of keep looking, and fortunately for them, they do eventually find people.
Yeah, they just wanted a quick pick. They wanted to move in, and I think Mariano as well gave up on the play much sooner than his teammates did. At the same time, they tried to battle for that high ground ward. The Bane was getting his XP mid, so he has his level 6. Just feels like a very disconnected play from Infinity. Of course, not the worst situation for them, but I mean, now Benja's got an opportunity to use his ulti, gets half damage on that mid tower. Just certainly not ideal, not what we really need to see from them, but that's where Infinity, they're trying to make a revenge play. Prada smoked up with PP. They would love to find the Tiny here. They could, but Mariano's almost spoiling the party here, but I think they're going to get him. Yeah.
Okay. Bean's Grip comes in. That's, Jesus, that is basically every ult that they had. They used the Wukongs, they used the Cook, or not the Cookie, excuse me, the Mortimer Kisses, the Fiend's Grip. But, I mean, they get the kill, and that's a big kill as well. That Tiny, was that a, did he just Chrono? He did Chrono mid. That's only Dark Demon, but if he can get the kill, but oh, look at that knockback. Pushes him into the river. Mariano, and he closed the gap here. He's going to throw out the Chakram, and it just barely misses, so that's, well, not a whiff on the Chrono in terms of the actual connection, but in terms of the kill, they don't get anything out of it.
It's certainly greedy from Lumiere, but you know, that's kind of his way of playing Dota. But I think he's okay throwing that out because he knows he can't just wait for Mortimer Kisses for another 90 seconds. He might as well just try anything. If he gets the kill, then he's certainly a lot happier, but just unfortunately not lucky enough. At the same time, I think Prada could have probably gotten hit with a Nightmare there, but the kill just takes so long at that point that maybe just not worth it in his eyes. But at the same time, Infinity, they need to be careful. Ventus is going to have his ulti in 15 seconds here. It's Raven's turn to kind of make the next play. They know the Chrono's not there. They know the Kisses are on cooldown for another 40 seconds. They should probably take a jab at this bottom tower, just open up the Radiant jungle a little bit more. But at the same time, this Timbersaw is being incredibly annoying. At the very least, the Coddle is going to certainly make it hard for Mariano to push this mid tower by himself. But honestly, I think Ravens are happy. They want the fight bottom, but PP, he's trying to break up their play a little bit.
Oh, the
I'm a little bit
scan.
nervous though. Yeah, what a scan.
They're
Oh,
gonna... Oh, we didn't get the tree! Okay, he got the Vortex at least, so PP's still gonna get pulled in. And they will kill him off. What a just perfect scan. They're sort of on to PP's game a little bit there, and... well, that's gonna open up some opportunities elsewhere. Infinity, though, are trying to sort of cover for that mistake as they do push their way into mid. That's going to get them the kill onto Dark Demon, but if Genic gets taken down in exchange, yeah, that's really not going to work out for them trade-wise.
it's really smart from Genic to be there, but at the same time, the Tiny was actually the one running interference, but unfortunately, yet again, it's a very interesting idea from Ravens. They don't care about this bottom tower. The bottom tower is, in fact, already gone, so instead, they just take half of their Death Prophet ulti, and then they fight mid. Can Tiny walk away, though?
Oh, they cut the tree! Yengo Flow zipped in, cuts the monkey down. PP is not able to get the ult off in time. He's going to try for it now, but by the time he gets it, he's dead. That is back-to-back plays here where Yengo Flow has just had PP's number. I don't really know what else to say. The Monkey King's just getting a little worked right now.
No, it's definitely some overzealous play. Just a little bit of high ground vision from the static Remnant, just a little bit of knowledge of where he's going to be TPing in, and they make that really appropriate assumption. And okay, Ravens, you use your abilities. Now it's Infinity's turn. It feels like a turn-based Dota 2 game, and it really is, but Infinity, they've got to do something with their Chrono. They need Lumiere to get in there with Genic, and okay, that's a free kill on Nakara.
Good.
Working for it,
Yep.
but...
Come on. Yep, there we go. That took a lot of extra effort there, but they will take Kara down. They get the D-Ward as well, and Mariano, he's still just not having an easy time of it. Dark Demon continues to just sort of harass him at every turn, and this tier 1 tower mid is... well, I mean, it's taken a beating, but it's still standing. But look at the rest of Infinity. Look at this sort of rotation around. They've got the Chrono, they've got the Kisses, so they want a target, and Coddle is not that target. They will still go in onto him with the Nightmare, but not going to use any ults on this one.
They're trying to kill him with the smallest amount of spells
Hold
committed
up,
as possible,
Tiny.
but this Chrono.
Does he want the
Oh,
Tiny or does he want the Storm? Can he somehow get both? He can get neither because he's silenced up. Yengo Flow, meanwhile, trying to keep the Bane out of the fight, and Ravens have yet to lose any heroes in this second round, but now there's the relocate. Or, excuse me, the sort of regrouping on to Yengo Flow. They take him down. Benjaz, I mean, he tracked down Prada. That's nice, but initially that looked like a solid move to keep him out of the fight, but then the fight kind of happens anyway, so Ravens with a bit of a misplay there, and now this tower may finally go down.
I mean, it's really scary though. Benjis, he's getting his mana back. He has a full BKB flying out on the courier. I don't actually think at least the Monkey King can stick around here, but again, you didn't really get an opportunity to use your Chrono. They couldn't Chrono the Tiny. He simply just had too much strength coming in from the Heavenly Grace. It would have been a whimper if he actually went for that Chrono play, but at the same time, I think it's very nice of Nengofo to give them that opportunity to kill him after he just used way too much mana. But Mariano, ooh, okay, half stacks, Spirit Vessel. Oh my god.
Nice Timber Chain to the low ground, but Nengoflo continuing to chase. They will find the kill. Had to get through the barrier from the hood, but still able to make that play happen. So Ravens, oh, it's a solid response for them. Find the lone Timber Saw, probably the hardest kill for them to get right now in terms of just raw tankiness, but still able to make it happen.
Yeah, and now it's a very strange game. There's no real clear winner. Everybody is really just kind of on tippy toes. Nobody's been making really those decisive plays, but I guess in turn, we have BKB, we have Exorcism. Benjaz is level 13. We could certainly see him make another sweeping play into the Radiant Jungle, and yeah, both Genic and PP, they need to be very careful here. PP did pick up an Orchid, so it's going to play even harder into Nengofo's BKB timing, a BKB that he is not making in the slightest. He's greeting out for that Kaya Sanj, a mistake I'd like to say that we see some Storm Spirits make when they really don't want to play all too safe, but it's also where, honestly, I don't disagree with him in the slightest. With how many silences Benjus has been getting off here, aside from his one death mid, it is so hard to actually take out this storm with all the silences just flying through. Benjus has been playing really well.
Scan, hitting. They are going to see Genic first. They'll go for the easier kill. Maybe
Oh.
they spotted. Yes, they did. Yengo Flow. The man just has a nose for the kills here. PP, tree cut, dead. Dead as hell. And Yengo Flow, I mean, he's got a sixth sense for this shit, man. I mean, that's just incredible. That's, what, the third kill now that the Monkey King has suffered because of that storm.
It's really brutal, to be honest, and I don't even want to blame PP, but it's just how much vision they have get from the Illuminate in the spirit form, from the static remnants, from just having these heroes running in before him. It's one of the biggest benefits of this Death Prophet with this early BKB is Vengeance is the one running in the night, really headlong without worrying about anything. The only thing he's really scared of is Grip, because he honestly does not care. He is completely fine getting into these crazy positions and just giving all the space in the world for Nengoflo to get those kills. And as we talk about with Storm, you get the river control, he's got a DD rune, he's got a Kaya Sanj coming out. It's certainly a little bit scary here. And Infinity, now it's their turn. Again, it's a turn-based game. They didn't use very much on the Raven side, but Infinity, I think they want the clash. Lumiere isn't the strongest. He just finished off his Manta style, but this is gold that they could be getting. It's a team fight that they should win. It's just simply Lumiere needing to find that Chrono with the kisses on top of it.
They have a game plan that's simple in theory. They just haven't found the opening, but, well, I don't know. You were saying before it's sort of their turn, but Ravens have basically everything up, but this is what might force their hand. Roche attempt coming out from Infinity, and there's going to be the 5-man smoke in their way over. Will they reach it in time? They should. Roche is only at about half HP, and now if you're Infinity, who's the lookout? They don't really have anyone. Benjus just pops the BKB and jumps in, and they've actually got the Faceless Void. Can they lock him down? Not enough damage just yet, but the silence is still on him, so they will get the kill. Lumiere taken down. Prada next up on the chopping block. Nightmare onto the Storm is not going to be enough to save him. And Infinity, okay. If you're going to go for Roche, try to force that play, fine. By all means, that's okay. But someone has to be the lookout. Benjaz walked to within 15 feet of the pit before he had to pop the BKB.
Yeah, and then the silence flies through, the pit is clear, the Manta gets forced out, the Faceless Void barely doesn't die there, and okay, they're trying to make a play onto the Storm. That Boundless, it's close, but I think this Monkey's just gonna die.
It's not enough. PP is stuck. He's just not going to get away. Gennett, can he TP out? Yes, he can. No Vortex was up anyway, so get the Snapfire out of there, but that was a 2v1 that you were hoping to get. Burn the Aegis and back away. Instead, lose your Monkey. You don't get the Aegis in the first place. Where is Nyengo Flow being pulled to? Into the river for a jump in onto Prada. Defensive Nightmare is not really going to help, so they are just sort of applying that pressure everywhere on the map. Nyengo Flow may have to get some help there. Yeah, Dark Demon gets him the mana so that he can zip away.
Yeah, and really, I love this purchase of the Ag Shard on the Coddle. Coddle has so many different avenues that he can go for itemization-wise, but with the way that Dark Demon is playing, he already hasn't been too separated from his Storm Spirit, but at any moment when they really make this adventure into the bottom Radiant jungle, you could just bring the Storm. You can kill the Bane, you can kill the Snapfire. Anyone who tries to play split from their team isn't really going to find that same level of success, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but we need to see a Chrono. We need to see Lumiere kind of get his feet in this game. It's just been too many unsuccessful fights, and yet again, you don't have that ulti on the Death Prophet for another 30 seconds, but they have full confidence in smoking up this soon. Oh, and Mariano, oh, he doesn't have any stacks. He's in between the lanes. This is the worst possible time they could find him.
Not dead yet. Never mind. They will blow him up eventually. And now mid, Lumiere's been hit up. Dodd might just do this himself. He's got the break into the Avatos. That's not okay. Lumiere, you cannot allow yourself to just get solo picked like that, because now it leads into this. Prada is going to get hit up as well. Yeah, that Nightmare. Optimistic, let's say. Not enough to save him, and this is no longer concerning, ET. This is a full-blown problem.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with the way that really this game has kind of spelled out, now the Tiny's got Silver Edge. He can kill anyone on the map. He finds any of you, he's going to go for the kill. Once he gets the BKB, they've got an even bigger problem, but I think this is where Lumiere's actually getting outpaced. And the scan again!
Okay.
They're placed so quickly on that jump, and even though the cookie lands, it doesn't matter. He still has an Aegis. He could do whatever he wants. I feel like they could decide to pressure this tier 3, but this is also a very wise decision. But again, they're backing with everything. They have every spell coming up in a few seconds here. Infinity are not going to find their opening. They're just going to need to split the map even further. They're really waiting for some long timing now.
You know, between what we've seen here so far from Nyengo Flow and what Mr. Jeans showed us in Game 1, maybe we should get back on the banned Storm Spirit train, because this is just a little bit too much for them to handle. And in theory, Infinity still have the response, right? We're still sitting here looking at a Chronosphere and Mortimer Kisses. If you get that onto a Storm, onto really any of those cores, they're still dead. But where is that execution? We just haven't seen it. This smoke play coming through may finally be their moment. And Lumiere, okay, where does he go? Nowhere. He's going to get silenced up first. No ult forthcoming. Benjaz, though, did get hit up by the Fiend's Grip, but not for long enough, and Lumiere's just dead. Dodd kills him straight up. And, I mean, fight's over. PP's going to try inside of his Wukong's command, and he is getting Kara low, but even if you kill him, which they won't, that wouldn't have been enough to turn the tides of that fight no matter what, and this is just full-on retreat from the remaining Infinity heroes.
Yeah, and I mean, game-winning reaction from Benjaz there, just getting the BKB off, knowing they're not going to have enough damage. And if Gennett dies now, this is just a really sad sort to be in. I feel like he should be able to survive. He's got the blink in one. Oh! Very tight timing. But you go on the second tankiest hero on Raven's side. You don't immediately chrono because you know it's just going to ruin the rest of your teammates' kind of plan there. They think they have enough damage with the Wukongs, but it just doesn't matter. He charges forward. He doesn't have vision of the Tiny. They don't have the sentries. They go blind. It's Infinity grasping in the dark. Ravens have not really been pushed against their limits at all. And of course, as I keep on saying, it's a turn-based game. They have nothing now. Ravens have no business taking another fight. They need to ignore the Death Prophet. They need to take everybody else out, but it feels like we've hit critical mass with this Tiny. Now, can you actually kill him if you throw absolutely everything in the kitchen sink? I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, and this is the problem. You let the Tiny get to this point, he is ready to go regardless of cooldowns. The worst thing you could catch him without is, I mean, I guess this BKB that he just picked up, but he was fighting just fine without the BKB as Lumiere spotted. He'll be able to keep himself away, but Nyango Flow feels confident enough right now to just kind of casually scout with that maneuver.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was the initial intention there, if he was seriously looking for maybe a support behind that previous tier 2, but in seeing all those heroes, you get to see what Ravens get to do right now. They just spread out across the map. They're really just kind of mirroring their teammates trying to run away from them, and as you see Infinity trying to take over this top lane, again, a lane that Mariano has previously been farming, he's really the only one getting items at a steady pace. Everybody else has kind of been forced behind, especially PP, who's been working on this BKB for what feels like ages. I just don't feel like this Monkey King pick is really working out in the fashion that they intended it for. And I mean, same with Lumiere. We're still waiting for that Chrono. We're still waiting for that team fight. And I'm just kind of sitting here looking at all these cooldowns come back up. They've got the GA, they've got the Death Prophet ulti back again. Infinity are not able to put on the pressure they need to in this game. They're getting dewarded. Nengo Flow is so overextended right now, and he's the one forcing the enemy team all the way back into the base.
They find the pick off onto Genic, and the rest of the lineup for Infinity now make their escape. Lumiere, honestly, he's fine if he just TPs right now, but he isn't going to leave just yet. But while he sort of deliberates, Prada gets caught out and taken down. So both of the cores picked off, and now this is kind of the problem. If Lumiere is not going to pull the trigger and go in there with that Chronosphere, he can get out, but his supports can't. And if the supports are now dead, without the cookie, without the kisses, without the Fiend's Grip, then Lumiere can't go for this Chronosphere now. So if you don't go, your supports die. If your supports are dead, you can't go. If you don't go, your supports die. Repeat, and basically for the entirety of the game so far. So I don't know. Infinity at a certain point just kind of feels like they need to bite the bullet and go for something.
Yeah, and very naturally, Ravens, the entire reason they make that long journey, and again, a journey that felt like they were mirroring their opponents, they get to swap the map where the other objective was. It's why they abandoned bottom where they place so much vision, because they can flip the map, get the final tier 2 set up for Roche. It's just everything is working so perfectly in the timeline here. Nengo Flow just keeps on very casually walking in the river, getting the runes, picking it up. It's just like clockwork at this point. We're not seeing Infinity play in the holes that are generated here. And I do like this smoke. This smoke is very smart, especially because they're almost gambling on this Roshan not being alive and not going to be alive in the next few seconds here. They're looking for the Storm. They're looking for any hero in this bottom triangle area, and they do see the Storm. If they make this jump, the only problem is it's the same place where they've lost this fight 2-3 times already because they don't have Prado leading. They don't have the vision placed before the fight breaks out. So they're anxious. I think they don't want to throw the game at this point. They know a botched smoke could cost them the game here. Meanwhile, PP, for the first time, narrowly escapes the Cuddle in the Storm. But the smoke dies on the other side of the map.
Smoke play sort of peters out there. You do have a BKB now finally finished by PP, so as you said, felt like we had been waiting for that on 10-15 minutes, but he's got it, so that's a step forward for him, working his way towards a Scotty. So if Infinity can buy time, they're going to be in a stronger position, but how much more time can they really buy? They're down 17k here as we're coming up on that 30-minute mark, so I don't know how much longer you can just sort of bank on Ravens not pushing, because they're getting stronger. Yengo Flow got himself the Aghanim Scepter now, so he's got both the Shard and the Scepter to buff him up, and this feels like the next fight. If Infinity don't have him locked down, he's just going to completely destroy their lineup's sort of efficiency.
Here's the smoke break, the aggressive. Okay, Ravens still pushing forward. They kill the wave. They've got the pressure in. I mean, Vengeance is level 20. If they really wanted to, they go tier 3 right now. It's already missing about a quarter of its HP. AC just finished on Tiny as well. I mean, PP so badly wants to cut this wave because he knows what's coming, but at the very least, they have Glyph. They're almost posting a front right now. They're being a little bit cautious here, but with Roche spawning in 50 seconds, being locked in your base is not an ideal situation. Look at Benjes. They are so smart. They're so aware of where this Monkey King is playing. And really, that Shiva is a troubling sign. Just another tool for them to find him. And okay.
Oh, man. All right. That's a stylish play, but now Lumiere, he pushed forward. He doesn't actually want to use the Chronosphere here, and he's just going to get run down. That fear just completely destroys him. Lumiere's gone. He's got a buyback, but do they want to use it right now? Mariano, he's not going to be able to Timber Chain away. he had the Lotus Orb to reflect, but it does still affect him, so they go in with the lockdown. And that's now 2 cores dead. They're going to look for even more. PP has to activate the BKB. Fiend's Grip, though, caught Yengo Flow, but they're going to be able to silence him up, so that Fiend's Grip does get canceled. PP, though, still trying to fight. He's losing his backup. Gennett gets taken down. He has to retreat from his own ring. And, well, I think that's probably the single worst fight that they could have been forced into, ET. And look at Ravens. Yeah, they're just going to force it, and there's your GG.
Yeah, I'm so surprised at really, I think, how poorly Lumiere was able to kind of leverage his advantage in this game. It felt like he was trying, they were making the plays, it felt maybe a little bit, I don't know, half-assed whenever they would smoke and they would push into these areas, maybe just a little bit too quickly, but at the same time, they had so many tools in the mid game. They pick up this Bane, Snapfire, Void mid game for this explicit reason. Once they get their level 6s, they just have things that happen. They have the Fiend script. They've got everything to throw at these cores. They miss their timing then. Their timing gets delayed another 2 minutes, and then it's another 4 minutes, and then it's another 6 minutes, and then suddenly you're playing versus a Tiny with the Silver Edge and half a BKB, and you're not winning the fight. At the same time, the Tiny wasn't even, I want to say, the main driver of this game. It's Nengo Flow and Benjaz creating this obstacle that Infinity could not fight around, shutting down PP specifically, who just could not do anything, make any leverage happen with the Monkey King. And then there's a Coddle making Nengo Flow even more obnoxious, making it more impossible to fight into, giving him even more mana. I mean, just Ravens kind of worked Infinity for everything it was worth.
Every single chain that they needed, every combo, every timing was just perfectly hit, whereas Infinity, ET, we did not see that Chrono Kisses combo one time. They never pulled it off. Okay, not but one of the sort of simplest combos that we look at in terms of effectiveness just never happened. And you can't draft this kind of lineup and then not get that execution and have any hope of surviving a game.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say it was a really good Faceless Void game once they saw everything across the board. But you really look at these heroes, it feels like they would gel. But I think that's where the Monkey King really does feel almost random. Like I feel like this opener was really geared up for a much different situation, and then they reactively go for this hero. And of course, in drafts, you have to be fluid. You have to look at what your opponents are putting down as much as you need to. But I really think that if they had picked this Faceless Void up earlier in that second phase, and then they look for something, I think really PP was the one robbed the most in this game of just any impact. It felt like he wasn't really able to do what he typically does on his Invoker, on his Lena, on these heroes that actually would have been something to throw into this Chrono and just give a little bit more, rather less pressure off of Lumiere. And then you look at the draft and you realize, well, this isn't really a great Timberstar draft either. It's great into Omni Tiny, but well, if you don't hit your chronos, you don't have any stuns, you don't have any backup. They just were almost pigeonholed into this game that Lumiere had to play perfectly, and then when it doesn't, well, the game doesn't happen. And I think that's where Ravens really get what seems like a very easy victory.
Yeah, I mean, once we got into the game and started seeing the sort of lack of execution from Infinity, yeah, it looks pretty easy for Ravens. It wasn't supposed to be, but part of Dota is, listen, you can outdraft your opponent straight up, sure, but then the other half is how well do you execute, and Ravens absolutely had the better execution on the game plan, and see the results. They take the win here in game one, and now they're set up quite nicely heading into that second match here. Now we wonder, can they follow in the footsteps of Noping? Can they get the 2-0 sweep to move their way into the upper bracket final?
Yeah, I mean, I love 2-0s. They're so much fun. But I feel like Infinity are definitely going to have something to say about that.
Yo, yeah, if you ask Infinity, hey, you gonna have fun being on the wrong half of a 2-0, they'll say, hell no. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually fight back. They're gonna have to do something different. For game two, probably a lineup that's not reliant on a single combo to keep you in it. So we'll see what it is that they have planned. Game two draft coming your way in about 5 to 10. So we will step aside for a moment and be back. Will it be the final game of the day, or can Infinity push this to a full 3? Find out. Just a little bit.